What is up, ladies and gents? Noli here. Welcome to another Payday video. Today we'll be taking a look at the brand new secondary weapon added in the most recent update, the Hardcore Henry update, available to everybody for free. So it is a secondary pistol, the White Streak pistol, and it's certainly a contender for the best in class. It sits in the middle ground in terms of damage. The pistols are somewhat in the same way as the SMGs were divided by concealment options. Pistols feel like they're divided by damage and fire rate. So we have very high sort of fire rate handgun style weapons that generally don't hit the same dizzying heights in damage. Basically they fall under the 100 range. And then we have other pistols that are more like revolvers, for example, or the Desert Eagle, that surpass the 100 mark, some even all the way up to 200 if you're running the right pistol skills. And the White Streak, as I said, falls around about in the middle, in a new category that's just started to emerge. Now, I'm going to take a look at this pistol individually first. I'm not going to be bringing up any sort of shooting range stuff. We're just going to be watching gameplay throughout, and I'll show you how I've customized it. Now, what I'd like to do again is find a weapon to compare it to, but right now, my head's struggling to see a weapon that it's, easily comparable to. It's quite unique as far as I can tell. We'll see if I can get back to that later on in the video. But let's look at the White Streak individually right now. Mag size, when customized, as you can see on screen, bases are all looking very strong. I think the detail that you guys are going to want to really pay attention to there, not only the very high concealment at a base of 29, but also really good damage at 145 without customization, which does mean it's still going to be very powerful on the overkill difficulty. But as you can see from the gameplay, this thing still destroys on Death Wish, especially when used in builds designed for it. I particularly like running the Akimbo Bonettis in my primary slot, and actually, as you can see, as you again saw in the Boiling Point video the other day, even the Heather SMGs work nicely up to Death Wish when coupled with this weapon. So damage is certainly not an issue, and I found great success with it. Of course, on overkill, you get a one-shot headshot, most things, except for bulldozers, and it'll really make short work of bulldozers. What I really like about this new emerging class of pistols is not only does it have that really nice damage number, it also has a fantastic rate of fire and mag size, which means it's a monster for taking down bulldozers. Yes, it'll one-shot tasers with headshots. Yes, it'll one-shot cloakers with headshots. It'll one-shot shields in the body. Of course, we're talking about overkill difficulty here. What it really does, what it does very nicely and stops you from having to run a bulldozer specialist weapon, is it works in the same sort of way that the fast fire rate weapons like the minigun or the Heather SMGs do, and it tears through the plate of the bulldozer and easily one-shot, two-shots it with the headshot depending on the difficulty you're playing on. I really like it for that utility it brings along, which most pistols, let's be honest, they really don't. Even the more powerful ones, you don't feel like you can shoot enough shots downrange fast enough, or you find yourself having to reload, which is quite inconvenient. And this thing has a really fast reload time and not bad ammo pickup either. So it's ticking all those very important boxes very nicely. Accuracy and stability are also not too bad. They can be modified quite nicely. Concealment's an interesting one. We'll get onto that a little later, why I choose to drop it down. But basically, it's from the modification that allows me to increase the mag size. I think it's a nice trade-off, but when I finally work out what that comparison weapon is, we can look at it there. So yeah, White Streak is looking to be one of the most powerful pistols in the game right now. It feels really good to use. It's a nice looking weapon. It goes nicely with the Hardcore Henry and Jimmy pack as well, and I'm going to enjoy using it on many Hold on. I think we have a case of identity theft. I found the comparison, and it is somewhat uncanny. The Baby Deagle is the exact same cost to purchase, $76,250. Exact same base mag size, total ammo, rate of fire, damage, accuracy, stability, concealment, and threat. It's a fraud. This is not obviously the first case of this happening, but I think what we can suggest is that the Institute has sent us a synth here to take over from the Baby Deagle, and it's the White Streak pistol, and I can barely tell the two apart. All joking aside, these things are, well, they're identical at first without modifications, and even the modifications really don't break them apart. Now, this does not go counter to anything I was saying at the start of the video. Obviously, I knew this comparison existed from the beginning. But I did want you guys to see the white streak's great. But, you know, so's the baby deagle there. So similar, it's untrue. Now, I'm going to break it down to the one difference we're going to see a little later on. There is a small choice you're going to have to make between which weapon you prefer, and it really is very marginal. They look a little different, but to be honest, they feel identical to me anyway. Make slightly different sounds, but whatever. And I imagine some of you be quite displeased by this, because, you know, it's certainly not offsetting the balance. But after some of the changes Overkill made to weapon balance, there are a fair few weapons that have ended up being very similar. Maybe not as similar as this, but, you know, very similar all the same. And fantastically, I think that those of you who don't own Point Break, like the DLC, this weapon does the exact same thing really as the Baby Deagle. It fits into that niche new slot created, like I said, in between the power weapons, the fire rate, ammo capacity sort of weapons, and it fits it really nicely. And so, if you don't want that DLC, here you have it for free. Great, really top of the line pistol. So let's move on to the modifications, because I think that's going to be the best way for us to sort of delineate these two weapons, and we're going to have to look at them side by side. Okay, so I've switched over to Camtasia here to take a closer look at where these two weapons really do differ. So let's get in there, modify them, and take a minute look at the modifications. Now, the first one we're seeing up here for the White Streak pistol is the prototype barrel, which is going to give you a nice little boost to accuracy, but it comes with a -1 to concealment. Sometimes you may choose to drop this on, it's not a bad attachment at all, but personally the way I play the game and I like to use these sort of weapons, I love crit concealment builds, going all the way up in Fugitive and getting low blow and Sneaky Bastard. And because I choose to only basic them out, because I want to go all the way over to Mastermind and ace out Inspire and Meg Kits and be a little more supportive for those harder difficulties, I'm not able to be as liberal as I'd like to be with my choices of attachments. So I have to drop the prototype barrel, as you see here, which we won't have to do on the Baby Deagle when we see that one a little later on. So I guess you could say 1 point to the Baby Deagle, but this is as minute as it comes. And of course, if you choose to run the weapon differently, maybe you are running a primary that means you have to ace out those two perks, or skills I should say, I was talking about just earlier. Or maybe you're just going to be running this in an armoured build for whatever reason, you've got a different setup altogether, then you don't have to worry, drop the prototype barrel on anyway. Now, as far as barrel exits are concerned, Flash Hider is going to be what you're going to want for both, again, assuming you're going to go for that sort of concealment build, so no real difference there. Boosts, the same boosts are available to both weapons. I just happen to have gone with different ones for both of them, based on what was available to me at the time. Gadgets, now I don't generally care too much for lasers, but if you're going to want it, go for the micro laser. Again, no touching your concealment. I'm going to skip over mag real quick and just talk briefly about sight. Both have access to the pistol red dot sight, which will give you a nice boost to accuracy again, but with that same -2 concealment. If you have a problem with these iron sights, you may want to give this one a greater bit of consideration, but as far as I'm concerned, they both have great iron sights. Maybe the Deagle edges it out slightly, but I think they feel so similar, you're barely going to notice the difference, and so I don't bother with this, and again, want to keep that concealment down as low as possible, because, as you can see, we're already dropping a point in concealment from this choice of magazine, and this is the big key to where they're different. The White Streak has access to extended magazine. It's not like you're going to see on like the Bonettis, where it's a massive increase. It's only 2 shots per mag. You can see +2 with a -2 concealment. I personally, even though it's a fast reloading weapon, feel like this is worthwhile because naturally, without the use of a concealment boost, if I remove this modification, you'll see my detection risk is 6. It's not 5 where you need it to be to get absolute maximum use out of Dirty Bastard and Low Blow. Sneaky Bastard, I should say. So instead, I feel like I may as well drop another point in concealment. It's not going to hurt the overall build, and grab those additional shots in the mag. And I do think on a weapon like this with a fast fire rate, you will notice it. You really do. Even if it's just for trying to spray down a bulldozer before having to reload, it is where there's a slight breaking point in these two weapons, even though they look identical. The extended mag is the real deal sealer for me. As you can see, by the way, the reason why you couldn't put another one on is because second I do that, suddenly detection risk shoots up to 9. It's because it's a percentage-based thing. It works a bit strange, but whatever. That means that we drop an extra 3% chance to crit and an extra 1% chance to dodge. So not worth it in my eyes. I'd rather run it like this. Now let's take a quick, even though the baby deagle is not the topic of this video, let's take a quick look at it anyway, because we do want to see where it differs. Of course, immediately you see it has the edge just over here, in that you have the ported and threaded barrel, both of which boost whatever you choose, and they do so in such a way that does not drop your concealment down, so it's a nice little option. Again, same barrel exit. Boost, same boost available, same gadgets. Now here's where they differ slightly. You have the choice to go into the spike grip. Once you've put on, I believe you need the spike kit put on in the first place. Beauty about the spike kit is it's going to give you an extra point in concealment, bringing you up from that base we saw of 29 to 30. With the additional boost we see here from concealment, you can bring this weapon all the way up to 31. So the max in the game, which is really nice, and it does edge out the white streak in that way, but that's not that important, as you see here. But I do want to get that additional point in concealment because it's going to give me some more accuracy and a drop to stability. That's the main reason I go for the stability attachment over here, I'd say, to try and counteract that slightly. Now, with this, you can then pick up the spike grip, but it's the same sort of problem I had before. With the spike grip, this weapon now has much greater stability, that +8 you see there, but it loses concealment and it puts you back to square one, back to where the white streak pistol is. So I'd rather maximize this one out and keep it at 30 to make it work ever so slightly more efficiently in my concealment builds, but it won't make a massive lot of difference, as you'll see at the end. So pistol red dot sight, again, it's an option to you, but not one that I am particularly willing to take. So as you can see, the primary difference between these two weapons, ignoring the slight changes in accuracy and stability we could see, is that this weapon has 2 additional shots in the mag, whereas the baby deagle modified like this has a detection risk of 4. Therefore, while it has 2 fewer shots in the mag, what it does gain is an additional 3% chance to crit and 1% chance to dodge. Not massive either way, and I personally favour the additional magazine size, but it's up to you. Tiny, minuscule, it really is the difference between the two of them. It took me way too long to explain such a tiny little difference, but now you know they're not identical clones, they're all just painfully similar, and they're actually 2 of the most powerful secondary SMGs in the game. So either way, you've picked up a good weapon, and especially to those of you who don't own Point Break, this whole thing was pointless. Just run the white streak, it feels great, it's amazing, really enjoy the weapon. And I'm not too bitter about it, because at least Overkill did do 1 or 2 things to try and change it up, and it's certainly not offset the balance of the game, despite being a nice, powerful, and fun-to-use weapon. So, there we go. That was this video, the white streak done in the most convoluted way possible. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will, of course, see you all in the next one.